It's a great episode. We flash back to see what a lot of these characters were doing before you found them, and I think it's some great stuff for Mike, because you really get to see him at the bottom of the barrel before he sort of picks himself up and becomes a member of the Pearson-Hardman team. So he's a bike messenger, and he's getting into a lot of trouble with his friend Trevor. So it was a lot of fun to shoot. And the audience in the States and around the rest of the world have really appreciated the episode. So I think people should be excited for that.
Yes, and I heard you a little bit of a slut as well in season 2. I'm sorry.
Hello.
Was I not allowed to use that word? Quote one of the members of the media over there.
Wait, you heard that I was the slut? Oh, wow. Okay, so you're on Twitter. All right. Towards the end of the season, towards the next couple of episodes and then towards the end of the season, there might be some relatively slutty behavior. I don't know if that's how I'd describe it, but Mike might go off the rails a little bit. He seems to have a lot of trouble with women. He hasn't quite figured out how to do that properly, so hopefully he'll figure something out by the end of the season. Yes, absolutely. And I wasn't, by the time Suits came around, I would say my confidence was already sort of on the way back. The process of what I went through being fired from a job. Has anyone here been fired from a job? You guys, anyone in this? None of you? Oh my God. You're brilliant. So just so you know, when you get fired from a job, it doesn't feel good. So try to avoid it. But at the same time, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I got fired from this job, and I felt as though that I really couldn't achieve any of the things that I thought that I could achieve. I thought I'd really finally proven to myself that I had picked the wrong thing to do. And then I realized along the way that I hadn't in fact picked the wrong thing to do, I was just doing it the wrong way. And I was trying to please a whole lot of other people in the process, and I was trying to do what other people thought I should do. And losing that job finally convinced me that I had to believe in myself, and I had to stick to what I knew was true, and do the things that I wanted to do and that I was driven to do. And that at that exact moment in time, pretty much this script landed in my lap. And I really told myself I wasn't going to audition for any more television that I didn't feel strongly about, because of that process that I'd been through. And I read this script, and I immediately knew that this was my show. I just knew it. I knew because of the process of what Mike was going through in the story was something that I related to. I knew that there was heart. I knew the characters had a pulse. I knew that the creator had a lot of passion about this show, and that he wanted to involve me in the process, and everything just fell into place. So when we started the show, I felt very confident about what we were doing, and have remained, growing in confidence over the time I've been doing it. But it really was one of the most important things that happened to me in my career. Well, for me, it's the biggest job I've had so far. So for me, Suits is so special simply because it's afforded me opportunities like this to come to Malaysia, to travel, to reach more people than anything I've ever done. Obviously, a lot more than a play where you're performing for 90 people in a night. It's given me an opportunity to see just how far work can really reach out to the world if it's given the sort of the right medium to do it. And that's afforded me a lot of opportunity to grow, both as an artist and as an entertainer. So I've been learning a lot over the last couple of years. Plenty of time. Harvey is the ultimate badass. So there's lots of times. Like I said, sort of going back to the first question, over the course of this show, I think I've done a lot of growing up, both as an actor and as a human being, and I think part of that is asking myself at times, WWHD, what would Harvey do? What would a confident, strong, headstrong person do in this situation? And having that kind of energy around all the time, and watching the show sort of explore that has been it's been great for me. So I would say I ask myself that probably once or twice every single day. Well, we look the same, very similar in appearance. I think we share a lot of similar traits. I think that he fights for the underdog. I think that he is a believer in things that are good and true and just. And I think we both share that. I think we also share a little bit of naivete, and that we'll sort of fight for this little thing that we think is right without paying attention to the to the bigger issue, you know, so guys like Harvey Specter can sort of see the bigger picture and go, you're being pedantic and you're fighting too much for this thing, you're not paying attention to everything. That's been my experience a little bit. You know, I think I'm probably a little bit more, I think he's a little bit more confident than I am at times with his like little miniature swagger that he, you know, does, and then he screws something up and drops files all over the floor. So, you know, I think he's confident and then drops the ball a little bit more often than I do. But we're very similar. We both sort of come from a situation where we were at the bottom of the barrel and felt like maybe we missed our opportunity for doing something with our time here on this planet, and then we finally kind of got this opportunity that we always hoped would come, and we weren't sure if it would, and there it is, and now we're both trying to make the most of it. But we both feel like a fraud most of the time, so he's just an actual fraud. I just feel like one sometimes. I'm more Mike. Well, Harvey seems to, he doesn't seem to ever admit that he's wrong, and I probably think I'm wrong more than I should. So I'm much more Mike, but hopefully I'm growing into my own inner Harvey as the years move on. I try to have as few lawyers as possible. It's a tough question. I think that when you have a lawyer, you're probably really interested in winning, and so I probably would want Harvey on my side, because he seems to do that a fair amount. But if I wanted someone to probably hang out with and have a good time, Mike might be the way that I'd go. But Mike is still figuring out how to be a lawyer, and I think that he's a brilliant guy, and he's figuring stuff out, he's doing a good job, but he's really more the way that the audience gets to explore the show through the kind of mistakes he makes rather than always being the guy who wins. And I think the strength of Harvey Specter is that he's the guy who is always winning no matter what. So if I needed a lawyer, I'd definitely go Specter. What I want, Harvey Specter or Gabriel Macht? I don't like having bosses, it turns out. So I mean, if I had to have a boss, maybe, but, and if I was trying to be a lawyer in real life, maybe, but I think I like my life without bosses just fine. I hope to see him keep growing up. You know, I try not to get too specific about what I want to see because I don't write the show, and I think that when you're doing a show like this, you have to be a little bit careful about getting very clear about the things you want because they might not happen. I mean, we have a dialogue with the writers and we get to talk to them, but you kind of have to remain general so that you're not trying to impose your thinking of what the show needs to be. In my mind, I think, you know, I would love to see this character by the end of this show, whenever that time is. I'd love for you to really have seen a young man go from, you know, that kind of first burst of intensity, sloppy, ugly, messing up all the time intensity, that sort of seed of something good happening, someone kind of connecting with their fate. And then I would love to see by the end of the show the result of that, of having seen sort of a young man really come of age and come into his own. Not necessarily be, you know, everybody thinks that Mike is sort of on the trajectory to just become like another Harvey Specter. I don't think that's what the show is about. I think he's becoming his own version of who he's going to be, and I'm excited to see what that is, whatever shape it takes. I think that there are a lot of people who are proving in the world, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, young people who are doing very amazing things, having dropped out of school. I think there are a lot of people doing very amazing things, not having sort of reached the epitome of academic success. And I think those people are very interesting. I think they say a lot about kind of where the academic, I speak really strictly about American academia because I'm not well versed in the rest of the world, but you know, I think there are a lot of interesting characters who are doing amazing things after having dropped out of school. Steve Jobs, even, as an example of somebody who never went to school. I don't think going to school is a bad thing, but I don't think that everything that you have to learn about being successful in the world is something that you can learn in school. So I think street smarts play a big part of it, and that's what attracted me so much to this part in the first place.